Report number 355, in compliance with Section 138 of the Local Government Act 2001, informing the Council of Works which are about to commence, and in compliance with the Planning and Development Regulations 2001, Part 8, proposal to modify the flood defence seawall. Can I open this report for debate? Councillor Moore, and can I have a seconder? Is Councillor Keegan.
Councillor Moore.
Yeah, good morning, Lord Mayor. This 355 Part 8 has been going on for an awful long time. Now, at the last North Central area meeting in December, was agreed by all the councillors there that we support this Part 8, so I'd actually prefer if it went through without debate. I propose it goes through without debate. Good morning.
The speakers indicating Councillor O'Brien. Yeah, well, certainly I had my own misgivings at the last full council meeting. I had the misfortune to be unable to attend the area committee meeting, where it seems that all councillors that have been now agree with the proposal. And I want to put a question to the Chief Executive that may or may not have been answered to the satisfaction of other councillors at the area committee meeting. But there was a claim by some residents who made representations to the councillors that the estimated €230,000 that it would cost to reduce the height of the wall was money which in large part would have been spent in any event to do other works, which to my mind is at odds with what's in the report, that this is €230,000, which if we didn't embark upon this would be available for other works or for other flood remediation. So you might clarify things at that point, because frankly I'm still not convinced, and I do wonder, like, you know, on the part of residents and so on, just given the increased frequency of extreme weather events and basically the lack of discussion and debate around climate change and sea level rises that I've seen in the representations that have been made to me, whether it has given people pause for thought, because I for one dissent from my fellow councillors in the area, if unless I hear fresh arguments that here tonight. Thanks, Councillor Clough.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I remember, Lord Mayor, when Michael Phillips was retiring as city engineer, one of the last presentations he made included a slide showing that the sea levels in Dublin Bay were rising by as much as 1 centimetre a year in this millennium. I was quite surprised by the figure. I mean, that's a rise of 18 centimetres in as many years. Now, I'm not sure if it is rising by 18 centimetres or 9 centimetres, but I do know that the overwhelming scientific evidence from around the world is that sea levels are rising as a response to man's impact on the climate. And I think it would be remiss of us to propose spending up to €230,000 to reduce a seawall that has been put in place to defend parts of Dublin from storm surges due in part to a rise in global sea levels. And I cannot put my hand on heart say that I can stand over a decision to reduce the height of the wall. I can see how some people want to clad the wall. That's fair enough. But I simply cannot vote for a reduction in the height of sea defences when the overwhelming scientific evidence is that we are seeing a growing influence of climate change, of man's impact on climate, and we run the risk of parts of our coast being ineffectually defended in the years to come. Thank you.
Councillor Montague.
I would just like to agree with Councillor Clough on the importance of defending against rises in sea level, because we don't know what the future holds or what the rises may be, but there's been significant sea level rises in Ireland in recent decades, and it's likely that trend will continue. It might wax and wane. There might be periods when it'll go up faster and other periods when it'll go up slower. So I do think that it behoves us to protect vulnerable parts of our coastline, and I think that we should go ahead and do what needs to be to protect that community.
Councillor Freer.
supportive of what Councillor Cough and Montague have said, and the question I would like to have an answer to, in the event of the height of the wall being decreased, and in the event of a flooding event coming from across the wall, if it were decreased, what are the legal responsibilities of Dublin City Council?
Thank you. Councillor Moynihan.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. I often think that this is one of the more bizarre controversies that has arrived at our desk, because the view is impacted to motorists alone. I drive that route quite a lot, and I think it's been a huge public realm enhancement with the cycle pathway along the road. And while I agree that the wall is not finished and it does need some visual improvement works, I think reduction in the height of the wall for motorists to be able to see above sea level when they should have their eyes on the road rather than looking out to the sea is both irresponsible of us, and I don't think that the residents of Dublin and the residents of Clontarf in 200 years will thank us for spending this amount of money on reducing the wall. I remember at the time getting a number of quite hysterical emails about this, and got out to see the wall for myself and realised that it barely came up to my knee, and I couldn't really understand what the controversy was about. I get the controversy about the seawall, the initial seawall out over the bay back in 2000, I think it was 12 or 2013, but this one I think it's really, really irresponsible of us as a council if we agree to spend this amount of money on reducing the height of the seawall in light of rising sea levels, and the fact that the only people it will benefit is motorists who should have their eyes on the road to begin with. So I will be voting against this report. I'll be voting against it with enthusiasm, and I would encourage all other members of the council to take the responsibilities for the future protection of this city, not just for the next local elections to come, but for the next 200 years to come.
Councillor Lacey.
Well, now this is a bit of a bizarre debate. We're being asked to spend money to reduce protections on people who are affected by flood disasters, potentially disasters. I've no difficulty with supporting the proposal to spend money on the cladding, because it's right that the finished product should look as well as it can. But I mean, I represent the Sandymount area, and my constituents are looking for money to be spent on putting in better flood protection measures. And here we are being asked to spend, is it 300,000, if I got the exact amount, 300,000 to reduce the flood protection measures for the people of Clontarf, just as Councillor Moynihan has said, to make it more pleasant for the motorists to drive by along that particular stretch of wall. I've never seen us being asked to vote in such an irresponsible way in my entire time on this council. Surely we should be exercising our energies and spending our money on improving protections rather than reducing them. I see no logic whatsoever to the proposal to reduce these particular protections, and I'd say I will be voting to keep the height as it is, to spend the money on the cladding, and to down the road allocate the money saved to flood protection measures when people seem to want them.
Councillor McAdam.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, I've listened to the local councillors, particularly my colleague Councillor Murray, and I've listened to Councillor Lyons, but I have to say I found myself getting annoyed listening to Councillor Lyons when I hear that there's an engagement process over the last 2 years supported by the City Council to examine this issue, when I represent areas in the North Strand, in East Wall, and live beside parts of Cabra, where the City Council post-2011 said there were no engineering solutions to the flooding problem. Yet Irish Water have been able to come along within 2 or 3 years later and provide the very engineering solutions. So I find it very frustrating when you see the City Council spending this level of time, this level of money, investing to reduce the size and the height of a flood protection measure. And I find it very difficult. I will not support it. And what I would furthermore ask, Lord Mayor, that in the event that this report is carried tonight, that the cost of the works, entire works, be found out of the North Central area budget, and they shouldn't be coming out of any other council budget to carry the cost of the works. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Obviously, that if that wasn't spent on reducing the wall, it would be spent on another flood relief scheme. So it would be available for other works. That would be the answer to Councillor O'Brien. I suppose the answer to Councillor Cuff and Councillor Montague in relation to sea level rise. I suppose over the last decade there's been quite a bit of work being carried out on sea level rise measurements, particularly in the Dublin area and other areas. And we're actually finding per annum there's a sea level rises now of 6 to 7 millimetres per year. So in a decade you're actually looking at 60 to 70 millimetres of a sea level rise. Now that's something that has to be constantly monitored and will be monitored over years. In relation to Councillor Friel's question, the design that's been put forward here in the resolution is taking account of a 1 in 100 year event and a sea level rise that will protect the area for a period of 10 to 30 years. After that period, the wall will have to be revisited again. The sea level rises obviously will increase during that period of time, and we will just have to monitor it. But if the wall is reduced, it will provide a certain amount of protection, but only for that certain period of time, which will have to be monitored.
If anything happened within that period of time, then what's the liability of the council, please?
We don't know, Councillor Free. Basically, that's a standard that will protect the area using all of the standards that are there, the engineering standards, but it will protect the area for a certain period of time. But it's not to the national standard.
Technical issue. On the
The national standard, and I suppose it really answers Councillor Moore's question and Councillor Farrell's, is that the wall height that is there at the moment and that was designed is actually designed to the national standard, and that is 1 in 200 year event protection, plus all of the sea level rises that's predicted as well, and that is the national standard.
Could I just come in a point of information?
You can ask a question, but you've already spoken at length.
No, just it is compliant with the Dublin City, our development plan. That's the question. It's compliant with our development plan. That's what I understand. It's in the report that it's compliant with our development plan.
The development in terms of planning, but the statement that's been made here is important. It doesn't comply with national coastal flood protection. That's the design standard we sought to achieve in building the wall. We're being asked to retreat from that. It's not really a development plan issue, it's national policy. We're putting it before the councillors that it doesn't. And it's up, we've said, we're not recommending you reduce it. At the end of the day, it's a matter for the council. We're recommending that you don't reduce it.
And just one more piece of information.
Councillor Farrell, it's important. I don't want to be spoken at length on this. I let you in twice, which is unusual. So we need to move on. Deirdre.
Okay, then I propose to put the resolution as it is in the report and to put that to vote, which is Dublin City Council hereby approves all the works set out in report number 355-2017 and agrees that they proceed subject to the requirements of various City Council departments set out in this report. So if you vote yes to that, you're you're agreeing to this report. If you vote no, obviously you're not agreeing. Yes.
So a vote yes will reduce the height of the wall. Thank you.
So a vote yes is my understanding. It will reduce the height of the wall and include the cladding. We are proceeding the resolution as contained in the report circulated this afternoon.
The group agreed, yes, Lou. The group agreed, yes. Jeez. You voted? Oh, yes. Sorry. Please, yeah, please.
Sorry, has everybody seen their vote there? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, just... Don't move. Okay. I didn't kick anything. I hope we didn't. Okay. 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 Okay, I'll scroll through them slowly, so can everybody check their vote, please? So the report is carried by 34 votes to 21 with 3 abstentions. So we'll proceed to the next item.